The Dodgers are the new villain in town, but from a Rays perspective, they're not the ones to blame.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. The Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we are Kevin and Ulises.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on today's show, why more Rays players should be playing winter ball. In a few minutes, why the Rays should kick the tires on Danny Jansen again. But to start, as a Rays fan, you may think that the Dodgers are ruining baseball, but they really aren't.
And we're going to talk about all of that thanks to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON-MLB for $20 off your first purchase. The Dodgers aren't ruining baseball, Kevin. Owners crying poverty are the ones to blame. You hear all the time, oh, the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Even you hear it so much that even in his celebratory speech after the NLCS victory, Dave Roberts said, they're saying that we ruined baseball. Well, how about we win 4 more and say how much we really are ruining it?
Which they could do. That could be in the cards, depending on who wins out against the Mariners and the Blue Jays.
But are they really ruining baseball? From my side, from my lens, I don't think they're the ones that are ruining baseball. I feel more like Bob Nutting from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's damaging baseball and his fan base. The Colorado Rockies.
Yes.
Artie Moreno and the Angels. I mean, we've talked about them in the last episode, how they had 2 of the greatest talents we've ever seen, and they just didn't do anything with that. It's those types of organizations that are really putting a really sour taste in the fan base. It's not the Dodgers.
Yeah. I mean, the Dodgers are playing within the rules, theoretically. I mean, we can make some cracks about the whole deferred salaries and all that, but if they're allowed to do it, they're allowed to do it. Unless MLB is going to tighten up some of the rules and regulations with revenue sharing and payroll system and salary cap. I mean, the Dodgers just presently have the greatest combination of payroll capability and front office smarts. And you also have a historic franchise and organization that star players want to be a part of. It's the perfect storm. And that's why they are currently on the run that they are. And yes, I guess it sometimes sucks for the little guys that, hey, we can't compete with what the Dodgers are doing. But then again, if you're looking at the sport in its health as a whole, I would venture to say that the Dodgers and all the star power that they have, led by Shohei Ohtani, probably does bring some more casual interest to the game, which ultimately that's what MLB wants. I mean, you're always going to have your Rays fans and your Angels fans and your Pirates fans and your Rockies fans. But what about people that aren't necessarily baseball fans, but they will suddenly tune in to the NLCS or the NLDS or the World Series to watch Shohei and company whoop some butt?
You gave Andrew Friedman money. What did you expect to happen? I mean, you got a guy who was making it so successful with Tampa Bay, and then now you gave him an endless, money chamber to play with. So that front office is really smart. And now they have a paycheck. And I understand Guggenheim. It's just this enormous entity that can play like maybe only Steve Cohen can. But this is my issue with pointing the finger at the Dodgers and Guggenheim and maybe at Steve Cohen with the Mets and saying like, no, you're ruining baseball. Nobody is making the Patrick Zalupskis of the world. Nobody's making them, and the Bub Nuttings, nobody's making them own a baseball team. No. Nobody's putting them threatening that you have to own a baseball team or else. Like, no, that's not happening. So when you're crying poor, like Stu did for so long, bro, then get out. Then
Right.
this is not for you. If you're crying about being poor and you're an MLB owner, maybe owning a baseball team isn't for you. And that's okay. You don't have to, baby. You don't have to. Just like Kevin and I, we look at yachts all the time and we're like, oh, I wish we could have 10 yachts.
Yeah.
But that's not for us. So we don't own yachts. Okay. They don't have to own baseball teams. So I really think that sometimes fan bases that are like putting the finger at the Dodgers and Guggenheim, look at the endless money. Like, dude, your owner could do that. And if they couldn't, then
They
don't
shouldn't be
own a
owning the
baseball
team.
team.
Correct.
Own something else.
Yeah. And that's where I hope that I understand that the Rays ownership group, they're going to keep the payroll manageable and tight for the foreseeable future. But when that new stadium comes aboard, whether it's in Ybor City or on Northdale Mabry or at the fairgrounds or in Timbuktu, and you have all the redevelopment and you have concerts and events and comedy shows, and you're making money hand over fist because you have this Taj Mahal of baseball stadiums and redevelopment surrounding it, a la the Battery in Atlanta, your payroll better go up. Not saying that it has to be the Dodgers level or the Yankees level or the Red Sox level or, any of the Blue Bloods level, but the payroll must be bumped up and you must make a full-hearted effort to compete year in and year out.
Yeah, you have to, because now we see in the playoffs, you have to have superstar power. You have,
Yeah.
and it doesn't even have to be.
The stars make the difference in the playoffs,
It's
not rookies or second level guys who've been in the league for 40 games. That is not going to win you a title.
It's not going to, and platooning is going to help you get through 162. A lot of the things that the Rays do very well make them be successful in 162 games. But 162 games is very different to the playoffs. It's completely different baseball, and you have to have your horses. You have to have the guys who are okay with putting their team on the back and saying, I got you.
Yeah.
Just like in 2020, Randy Arozarena did that for the Rays. You need those guys. And Randy was a rookie, people. Like that. We were so lucky that he went off like that, because if he doesn't go off like that, do they even pass the Yankees in the ALDS? And then when you go to 2008, remember Longo and BJ Upton were just homer after homer after homer. Like, you need guys like that. And again, the other example that I'm giving you, in 08, Longo was a rookie. So like the next time that the Rays want to actually have to go deep into the playoffs, you need some star power to get you there. And right now we could look at Yandy, we could look at Bilal, we can look at Junior. But if you really want to make a statement, you need that other guy. You need that extra special guy. And usually those extra special guys are going to cost you 200 million plus.
Yeah. And you probably also need a Blake Snell and a Tyler Glass now. Oh, wait, the Rays had that at one point in time. And it's kind of funny, just, there is the talk of the Dodgers ruining baseball. But if you look at it another way, if you have a true villain franchise that, hey, can any team go out there and unseat? That does bring a little bit of a David and Goliath factor to the game as a whole. But if you're a smart betting individual out there, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to put your money on the Dodgers winning the whole thing this year and for several years in the future as well.
It seems like they just turn it on as soon as the lights got brighter, right? Like they were just waiting for this. And that's how, and
just load management for 162. Then once they get in, it's all hands on deck, so to speak.
Exactly. No, it's been crazy what they've done. And so, we just wanted to say, don't point the fingers at, if you want to point the fingers, point them. But like, I think there should also be some highlighting on those owners from the Reds, for example, the Pirates, the Rockies, the Angels. Like, you guys are also not doing great by your fandom and to the sport.
Yes, indeed. All right. Now that we're beyond the Dodgers for a little bit, let's focus on a familiar face that the Rays could look to beef up their catching core. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It undoubtedly makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little extra something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel, they make the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. And that's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, and just get a better handle on my investments without having to touch a single spreadsheet. So be like me. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your very first listen every day. We do appreciate it. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If the Brewers don't pick up the mutual option of Danny Jansen, the Rays should pursue him once again. We got a question and a comment from one of our listeners, Macy, and it goes like this. Hello, question for you, since I listen to Locked On Rays frequently, and my ears keep perking up at recent Rays catching conversations going on everywhere. Merely out of curiosity, let's say the Brewers don't keep Danny Jansen for 2026, which I don't know. I could very well be wrong, but that feels like the most likely scenario to me. What would you think the likelihood is of the Rays trying to sign him again in free agency? Like on a scale from 1 to 10, where do you think we fall here? I have a lot of thoughts on the matter, but obviously Danny Jansen is not exactly a hot topic of conversation.
Well, Macy, thank you so much for writing to us. No, what are you talking about? This is Locked On Rays. Danny Jansen is definitely a hot topic of conversation, especially in the off season. I think so. For you guys that don't have it right in front of you, Danny Jansen signed a 1-year, $8.5 million contract with the Tampa Bay Rays, right? Then got traded off. But remember that contract also included a mutual option of $12 million or a $500,000 buyout. So right now the options are quite simple. It's a mutual option. So both parties, the Brewers and Danny Jansen, need to say, yes, we opt in for $12 million.
Right.
If one of them doesn't, $500,000 buyout goes to Danny Jansen. Danny Jansen becomes a free agent once again. By the way, Danny Jansen was both productive with the Milwaukee Brewers this year, much more than he was with the Rays.
Right.
And he also made 0 appearances during their playoff run. He was not in the NLDS. He was not in the NLCS. He was in the roster, but he did not catch one pitch. He did not have any sort of gig behind the plate. Because,
and that was not necessarily because of injury.
No, it's because they have a star-studded catcher in William Contreras. So yes. Where does that leave Danny Jansen as the backup catcher for $12 million for a team like the Milwaukee Brewers? Or is it fair to guess that he might not even be a Brewer and goes exactly the same way as last year and becomes a free agent?
Yeah, my guess is that if the Brewers are so confident to use William Contreras, which why wouldn't they be, for every pitch, every inning, every game of October baseball, and they have a hot shot prospect named Jefferson Cuero who is waiting in the wings as well, they're probably looking at themselves and saying, wait, why are we going to spend $12 million on Danny Jansen? We really don't need to. He's probably worth that, but we feel like we have enough. We're stocked up at the catching position. We can use that money elsewhere for other upgrades so we don't get swept out of the NLCS in 2026. So that tells me that Jansen is probably going to get his $500,000 in walk. In that case, I think that the Rays should kick the tires on him, because we've had multiple conversations throughout the year and this offseason already that what they have presently on their catching roster is not going to cut it between Nick Fortes and Hunter Fiducia. So I feel like Danny Jansen, again, just like Zach Littell being a bridge for the pitching staff, Danny Jansen could be a bridge for the catching core. And it's not like he was terrible with the Rays. I think he was worth the money. He was just a little bit better in his time with the Brewers. And maybe some of that is, hey, going back to the hometown Midwest and having something to play for in the playoffs. But I'll say this, I don't want to say it's necessarily a no-brainer. I mean, it kind of depends on the money and the asking price, but Danny Jansen, if you look at him, he's fighting in free agency every year for like a $1 million deal and an option tied to it. So I feel like something like that could be done. And he's already familiar with the organization and the pitching staff. So I don't think there would be a lot of a learning curve to get back up to speed. And then he could focus on his hitting and maybe improve that to some extent for 2026. And look, I think his offensive numbers would blow out of the water whatever Nick Fortes and Hunter Fiducia would provide. And you sign him in 2026 and say the Rays are again out of the playoffs mid-season trade deadline time, you just do the same thing. And then hopefully you've got maybe Dominic Keegan's ready or somebody else is ready, or you've traded for somebody. Maybe they'll have more answers at the catching position, but I feel like they've got to do something. And this would be a place to start or look at.
And well, let's also then put the obvious negatives on the plate here. Danny Jansen did not wow with his defensive abilities while he was here with Tampa. Like, that was one thing that we all kind of were let down with, how poor his defensive skills were. So that is something to consider when you are looking at this position, because we know that the Rays would rather have a defensive-minded catcher than a offensive-minded catcher. So then there's also that give and take here. We have seen Nick Fortes do really good things with the glove. So you already do have that defensive-minded catcher in there. Danny Jansen would just be providing that pop that you would need from that situation, because right now Fortes Fiducia doesn't seem like a type of catching duo that would get you very far in the playoffs. It just looks weak. Now, can
especially
both of them,
if you're in the Trop too, with the pitcher-friendly ballpark that
exactly. So, I mean, adding Danny Jansen would really help out here, but we do have to remind folks the defensive numbers weren't mind-blowing. They were frustrating. They were not optimal. And if you know the Rays, their biggest strength should be their pitching, and you have to help their pitching in any way possible to even become better, to squeeze every little ounce of what they can provide. And you're already talking about a rotation that doesn't have that much depth. So then you're going to really put them in a situation where they might not be as successful. So if you're not helping them behind the plate, then you're really going to be in trouble. So it's really that balance of how much can you give us offensively? How much are you taking away defensively? And is that equation equal something positive or negative?
But having said that, aren't we going to automatic balls and strikes in 2026?
Very good.
So the framing and the called strikes above average, I mean, isn't that more or less thrown out the window now? There is the issue of him being able to throw runners out, but I would think that the defense will be slightly less of an emphasis with the automatic ball strikes rule that is going into place. But yeah, it's all a balancing act. I mean, the idea, I guess, looking at the situation that you're at right now, if you have a defensive-minded catcher and an offensive-minded catcher, you can hopefully meld that together and make it work. And kind of just play it by ear, game by game, to see, what you need for at that point in time. But I feel like the Rays have to do something at that position. They can't just hold fort.
And if $12 million is too much for the Brewers, it's probably too much for the Rays as well. Yeah. But
I mean, make it $8 million again.
You know? Exactly. It doesn't seem like it would be out of the question for Danny Jansen to be acquired for around the same kind of money that he just signed for, because he did have like an up and down season between the Brewers and the Rays. Now, it ended up being a nice line. His slash line for 2025 with both teams was 215, 321, 399 slug. That's a 721 OPS. That's a 101 OPS plus. That's 1% above league average from the backstop. So ultimately, he did kind of provide what he signed up, 14 bombs, 11 with the Rays, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't see it as a bad idea. I just feel like the Rays have a lot to think about with Danny Jansen.
Yes, they do. So yeah, we'll see what happens on that front. But my guess and my hunch is that the Brewers won't pick up that option. So that means that, you know, that is one more catcher that the Rays can look at this offseason via trade.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about some Rays players that need extra reps, and they can do just that by playing Winter League Baseball.
There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, and you got to use Game Time. Why? Well, because it's actually fun to get tickets using Game Time. You know why? Because there's no surprise fees. That's my favorite part about Game Time. You don't just get stuck with all these fees at the end of the line that you didn't think that you would get, okay? It's the price you see. That's the price that you pay. So take advantage and download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Thank you for joining us at Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Kevin, I've said this to you many times before, and I'll keep saying it again. More Rays players should take on Winter League Baseball. Hunter Biggie, friend of the pod. Good to know he's okay. Good to know he's all right after that scary event this summer. It's good to see him back, man. He is pitching right now. In the Dominican Winter League Baseball. He has so far pitched 1 inning, no hits allowed, no runs allowed, 2 strikeouts. That's great because he didn't actually have any sort of pitching return with the Rays after that incident. And now he can get some reps right now with Águilas Cibaeñas, a team in the Dominican. So hopefully, you know, he's there with a few other MLBers, Leo Di Taveras, Tristan McKenzie, Juris Familia. So among others, it's going to be interesting to see how he performs this winter.
Yeah, and we're rooting for a full season of Hunter Biggie. I mean, he's a key piece in that bullpen, especially as a back-end guy that can bridge the gap to Pete Fairbanks or maybe get some save opportunities himself. And just the fact of, can we see him for a full season? Can we see 50 innings, 55 innings, 60 innings and see what he can do with all that? Because when he's on, he is a very impressive piece of the equation, but you have to have him available and healthy. And this is a great opportunity pitching in Winter League ball just to get those reps, get that refinement, get back into a competitive game speed environment with fellow major leaguers and top prospects. And it's, I think, a really good thing for your development. Not saying that Hunter Biggie needs a bunch of development. It's just getting back right after injury. But, you know, there is a thought that, you know, more Rays prospects or guys who are, you know, just get that cup of coffee or a couple months in the big league. This is a good opportunity for them to refine their skills even further in Winter League ball. And that is something that can do a lot more for you than just, you know, couple weeks in spring training.
100%. It's a more competitive environment. You are there like it's a playoff baseball on a Tuesday evening. It's pretty lively environment. So you also get that added to you. I mean, I'll tell you this much: the kind of environment that Hunter Biggie just pitched 2 days ago is way more than he's going to see at a Trop game in July, like 1,000%. So that also helps the development of Hunter Biggie. But I don't think he should be the only one that should be playing. I am a firm believer that Chandler Simpson is my pick to get some reps in Winter League Baseball. I think he is an athletic guy. I just think that, unfortunately, he hasn't had that many opportunities to play the outfield. He wasn't even drafted as an outfielder. So he needs to be out there. And Winter League Baseball would be a great experience for him to get more reps out there, even if it's left field, if it's center field, whatever it is, to just kind of hone in on better reads, better jumps, and hopefully bring that development back to spring training and just be a little bit better than he would if he just didn't do anything of that nature during the offseason.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's really a time to not just get more reps, but also experiment a little bit and make adjustments on the fly or as the weeks go on, something that you might not have the luxury in as you're trying to establish yourself as a big leaguer. But in winter ball, you can kind of, test this out, test that out, and see what works, and see if you can add it to your repertoire.
And tap into different strategies, tap into different coaching, tips that you might not get with the Rays. And we can always learn from anybody, right? So if you put yourself in a different environment, you might catch on to it. It's sometimes a different cue that somebody can tell you, and then that actually makes sense to you better than if somebody had said it another way. So it's always something like that. Kevin, do you have a pick for who should be going to Winter League?
I mean, I would say Carson Williams. I think he would be a good choice. Just again, trying to get more experience, get more at bats, get more reps, play in a high intense environment with some rowdy, raucous crowds, and see how you can adjust. And I don't know personally if he knows Spanish or not, but I feel like it's a good way to kind of build a little bit rapport with some of the Latin players that are on the Rays roster. I know you might not be playing alongside them, but you can kind of get a feel of what those guys are like and maybe transition that to what you're doing with the Rays, because the idea is that Carson Williams is, supposed to be a figurehead and a leader for this organization. And if he can build something with Junior Caminero and Yandy Diaz and others, I mean, I think that could only be beneficial in some way, shape, or form.
You look at that Rays roster and you think of, okay, who can be the next guys to take the team, to a next level? It's Junior Caminero and Carson Williams. So imagine if you're able to get that link even stronger between Carson and Junior, and you would make that happen by having Carson participate in Winter League Baseball. And I'll tell you something else. Alex Bregman speaks fluent Spanish. And he did that by getting on with his Dominican and Venezuelan counterparts. And he could speak with Carlos Correa, with Jose Altuve without any problem. And that just makes the team a little bit closer together. And you 100%. never hear anybody winning the World Series saying the guys didn't really get along. You hear the opposite. You hear that, we were a family. We get together. We're all.
We had the best group of guys you could ask for.
Exactly. You always hear that. So you can do that by participating in Winter League Baseball, having that common thread. And that Junior is a big guy over there in DR. He's not playing this season with Leones del Escogido. But I think that would also, I like that pick, Carson Williams. And also, it would make them closer to the point that, Kevin, you want to learn from Junior if you're Carson Williams.
Right.
And if you're Junior, you want to learn from Carson Williams too on the defensive side of things. So I think it could be a symbiotic relationship here, and it could all start by having that Winter League Baseball experience.
So as much of a baseball junkie as you are, Ulises, have you paid the $30 to watch Lead on Baseball games on MLB TV?
It only just
highlights.
It just started 2 days ago. I'm actually thinking about doing it, but you can also do it on YouTube as well. For the Venezuelan Winter League Baseball, you can go to Baseball Play and just sign off from the YouTube channel and see it there. So there are many opportunities to see Winter League Baseball. If you're a baseball junkie and you need more after the World Series is done, I completely understand you. And you have many leagues to kind of pour over while waiting for spring training.
I'll for now I'll stick to the Hunter Biggie highlights. There's just too much other things going on in the sports stratosphere between football,
fair enough,
basketball, hockey. But if you're a baseball freak and you just want more of it, you should check out some of the Winter Ball League action, and some more Rays players should participate in it as well going forward, assuming that it doesn't wear them out or hurt their chance or bring about more chances of injury, whatever it may be. But I think it's something that, in the future, Chandler Simpson should look at, Carson Williams should look at, really any of those guys that are still trying to find their way in the majors or coming back off injury, whatever it may be. All right. In the meantime, we hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later.